You're listening to Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland.
All right. Another great week, another great day. We are in the Wyatt Law Studios. You're listening to the Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland. I'm in studio with Levon, obviously, and with Mike Foster. We call him Mikey Football. Levon.
Yes.
The South Carolina Football Hall of Fame has a program where you can sign up for less than $10 a month, less than $2.50 a week.
Right.
Makes a huge difference for South Carolina, the Football Hall of Fame, and its mission. Tell the listeners, if you will, what do we do here?
Okay, well, the $10, you probably spend that at Starbucks every morning. So we can use that money. And one of the things that we do there is this supports us going to different schools, talking to different athletes. It supports our Bridge Builder program. And by you giving to us, we can go there and we can really make an impact and make a difference through football by talking to all these schools that we talk to.
Yep.
And so I think...
What are you teaching them?
We teach them things like leadership, which football kind of really teaches you about leadership, working with diverse people.
Yep.
And then honestly, getting back up after you fall down. And also setting goals. So it's a wonderful program. We're so glad to be a part of it. But man, your $10 that you spend at Hardee's could be used to support us at the South Carolina Football Hall.
That's right. $9.95 a month. We appreciate you joining. At least consider it. And of course, we're making a difference through football with our Bridge Builder program. Levon's told you some of that. And also with our Business Connect, helping folks after the game, the cheering has stopped, make that transition to the business world. So we help connect guys to others that can help them along their way in business. We teach them about character development. We teach them about the clearinghouse and how you get in that, and D1, D2, D3, what's required for different scholarships. So it really is the kind of things that these players need to know.
Oh, no question.
And we are, I think, changing lives. And thanks to all of those that have become members. Of course, you're a member, I'm a member. And Coach, is the members. We've had a lot of people join. Every time we have an episode, more of you have joined. We've got over a couple of thousand people now on our subscriber list. So this South Carolina Football Hall of Fame legacy and family is growing, and we appreciate you being a part of that. Mike, we've got a very special interview coming up.
We do.
This guy, I love him. He's been a big supporter of ours. And of course, when I met him, I was like, hey, you are Humanitarian of the Year, and I'm on your coattails, Coach. I mean, I'm walking in your footsteps and in your wake. This man is unbelievable. But tell us about Coach Joe Moglia.
Yeah, probably one of the more unique people we'll ever have on this podcast because well, he was our 2016 Humanitarian of the Year, but he's the only person that in the country that has over 20 years of business and over 20 years of coaching experience in football and has written a book on both.
Wow.
So he's
business
an author
and football.
So this guy's an expert.
Separately.
He's an expert. Leading, sounds like leadership, whether he's leading business or leading teams. And also, I mean, here's the thing, and you'll hear it in the interview. Tune in. We're going to get to it in just a second. But he took a company from millions of dollars to billions of dollars, and I think it'd be interesting for you to listen to how he did that. I'm certainly going to listen again.
Yeah.
And he's also had a lot of success on the football field as well. So without further ado, let's go to the phones for Coach Joe Moglia. You're listening to the Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joe Moglia, and this is the Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us back here at the Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland. Welcome back. We're excited to have Coach Joe Moglia on the phone with us. Levon Kirkland and Mike Foster in studio. Levon,
yes.
Let me turn it over to you, my friend.
Okay, yes, great. It's a wonderful day to be here on the Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland. I have a good story about our guest today.
Okay.
I did coach at FAMU at one point in time in my life, and I think it was my first or second year. Coastal Carolina came down, and we thought we had a chance against those guys, but in the back of your mind, you kind of knew that. Not really.
But you always want to hold out hope.
You always hold out hope. And, man, I think we got the beating of our lives. It was a coaching clinic, and they did just a good job of really preparing their guys for it. And we were nowhere prepare for that game. But I remember reading one of the coach's books, and I thought we're in big trouble. I did. I thought we were in big trouble.
Well, he didn't get to where he was without knowing a little thing about success in football.
A little bit about success that kind of definitely went into the football scheme of things, and boy, it was ugly. And we thought we were football people too, but not at all.
Well, I think the reality, I think I know what your problem was then, but bottom line is we were well prepared because because we realized that you guys could upset us. We knew we were better.
Right.
And we were supposed to win that game. And you guys gave it everything you could. But the real reason why you struggled is the book you read that I wrote was a book on investing.
Well, I thought I would get some tips, Coach, but not at all. I was trying to get to know you.
Yeah, you had some tips about what to buy in the stock market.
Right.
To help you that day.
Yes. That, you know what, as I go back now, that's what I read the investment book, not the football book, so that's why I got in so much trouble. Well, Coach, we're really happy to have you here. And, we have a series of questions we want to ask you. Some will be about football. Some will be about your life. But one of the things that I always like to ask the guests, what's your go-to order at your favorite restaurant?
Capellini with white clam sauce.
Now, what restaurant is that? Where do you get that from?
Well, I'm going to go to Remy's tonight, which is an Italian restaurant. I'm in New York City now. It's an Italian restaurant on 53rd Street, and that's what I'm going to order tonight.
That sounds
that sounds real good.
Yeah.
Sounds real good. Okay, also, Coach, I think that I remember you at Coastal, and what a tremendous job you did at Coastal. And we talk a lot about, raising young men and making a difference through football. Could you tell me, where do you get BAM from? And can you walk that through for us, our audience? If our audience don't know, and Dave, you don't know, Mike, you don't know, it's Be a Man. It's about being a man. Coach, can you explain that to our audience?
Yeah, I think the first thing, Levon, when somebody says BAM means be a man, I think the image right away is something along the lines of that would be sexist. And so a man to me is not some tough macho guy. Mm-hmm. A real man, or a real woman, or a real leader is somebody that stands on their own 2 feet, accepts responsibility for themselves, always treats others with dignity and respect, and lives with the consequences of their actions. Now, but what's that? Now, the background behind that is that has been the standard I have had as a leader in my first time around as a coach, my entire career in the business world, and there were plenty of women that have reported to me, and as well as the standard that we have the second time around as a coach, and it's what we built the program on philosophically at Coastal Carolina. I have 125 guys on my team. I have another 25 coaches, analysts, interns, etc. They are all men. So for the football team, BAM, be a man was quite appropriate. But it's really about a real man, a real woman, or a real leader that takes responsibility for themselves, treats others with dignity and respect, and lives with the consequences of their actions. Now, in my very first high school playbook, in my very first head high school job, this was 1971. That definition is in there. And I believed in it. I thought it made sense at the time. Well, after over 2 decades in football and after 2 decades in the business world, that is my number one philosophy. It's the way I raise my children. And by the way, 3 of my kids are daughters. And it's one of the things that I think that have separated institutions or organizations that I've been part of from others.
Oh, wow, Coach, that's incredible.
Yeah, Coach, really appreciate you being on the show tonight. This is Mike Foster, and it has meant a lot to us, the support that you've given the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame and over the years, and being a part of our 2016 ceremony as our Humanitarian of the Year. what in your role, you've obviously retired from the head coaching position. What in your role now at Coastal are you doing with the football team, and how is Coach Chadwell kind of taking some of the things that you started, such as BAM and the programs you've done for your student athletes? How is that continuing on there at Coastal Carolina?
Well, I have 2 titles at Coastal now. One is chair of athletics. The only responsibility that I have in that role is football. So football does report directly to me. And my other title is I'm executive advisor to the president, so I report directly to the president. And with regards to Jamie, I was the guy that recruited Jamie. And I think the world of him. He has a tremendous success record, both at Division II and the FCS level. He deserves to be able to succeed me, and I think he'll do a great job. From a philosophical perspective, BAM is still very, very much part of the program. He kind of combines the idea of BAM and the principles behind that with Believe. And so when you look at our logo, it's BAM, and it's got a football figure in the middle of the A. He has that same logo, but next to the M is Believe. And you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in what you're doing. You got to believe why it's important to take responsibility for yourself. You got to believe why it really, really does matter to treat others with dignity and respect. And at the end of the day, you really got to believe that you're going to live with the consequences of your actions. We tend to grow up with the subconscious sense of entitlement, and that's not going to help you long term in your life. And BAM certainly tries to address that. But again, it's a leadership principle.
Just a quick follow-up on that. Are you guys still taking a half an hour out on Thursday afternoon practices to talk to the kids about life after football?
Yeah, I know that's important to Jamie, and I know he's planning to do it. Whether or not he's doing it every week and whether or not he's doing it specifically on Thursdays for 30 minutes, I'm not 100% sure of that. But I know it still exists.
Well, Coach, this is David Wyatt. You did share with me before, but if you don't mind, share with our audience this what Mike Foster's just asked you about. What is it that you have been talking to these players about on Thursdays? What and talk, if you will, a little bit about I guess the game of football. And go ahead.
Okay, Dave. Yeah, okay, Dave. Happy to. So along that line. Like when we're recruiting, we say there's 2 things that are incredibly unique about North Carolina relative to anybody else in the nation. And then I emphasize, when I say we are different and we do these things, no one else in the country does this. Number 1, we don't have any rules, but we have a leadership standard that we call BAM, and then I go through that. And I said, if we make a mistake of you, if you're not that good a player, then we made a mistake in evaluating you. But if you come in here and you think you can get away with not living up to this principle, that standard, you're probably not going to make it in the program. So that's one thing, but we're different. The second area we're different, every coach in the nation will say, oh, yeah, every program is important, that we help our guys lay a base upon which they're going to build their lives later on. Now, even if you're good enough to get to the NFL, and by the way, guys, in the last 7-8 years, we've got 9 guys playing professional football, 8 in the NFL and 1 in Canada.
Wow.
And so if you're good enough to get to the NFL, we can get you to the NFL. But at the end of the day, it is about truly laying a foundation upon which our guys are going to build. Whether it's after an NFL season, whether it's after college, during college, after high school, it doesn't matter. This is something they got to truly take with BAM responsibility for. So, so what we do that no one else in the nation does is LAF, Life After Football. We have a 30-minute meeting every week, and I normally run that meeting, and the entire team is there. It's in our team room, and I never discuss football. Now, I certainly reference BAM a lot, but I don't discuss football. So, for example, I think the greatest threat that exists in the globe today is terrorism. So I want my guys to understand that. I want them to know what it means, what it stands for, the religious ideology behind it, how they recruit, how they fund themselves. So we live in the greatest country in the world, but there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people in the world that would not hesitate to give up their lives to take our lives away because they believe we are evil. We need to understand that. So, for example, my guys know what ISIS stands for. I bet you 90% of the people in colleges don't know what it stands for. So that's one. Now, if that's the greatest threat, how do you defend yourself? Well, it's through the military. So what kind of appreciation? There are a lot of guys my age, the same age as my players, that are in the military that are representing our country. Now, why are they doing that? Well, so we can live in freedom, right? So we can play college football. So there's two things I want our guys to understand. Is one, you better appreciate that. And at the end of the day, with those freedoms come responsibilities. You go right back to the BAM thing. So if the military is that important, we can only pray that our military and political leaders have the guts to do what they believe is right for the long-term security of our nation, regardless of whether or not near-term they're going to get a promotion or get reelected. And, well, what role do we have in that? Well, bam, we got to have some role, take some responsibility. So at the end of the day, we live in a country where we have the right to vote. In November 2016, in 120 years history of college football, Division III, Division II, Division I, any level, any time, the only program whose entire team voted for the president on election day was Coastal Carolina in November 2016.
Wow.
And that's something that I'm very, very proud of. That has never happened in the history of college football.
That's amazing.
It happened in Coastal Carolina.
Oh, Coach, great job. I tell you what, Coach, if you want to go back to coaching, I'm going to go back to playing, and I want to play for you. Would that be okay?
That'd be good by me, Levon. That'd be terrific.
Good. A question I have for you. After all your great success at TD Ameritrade, what made you or what compelled you to become a coach again?
At 2008, I stepped down as CEO when the board asked me if I'd be chairman. I'm still chairman of TD Ameritrade. Mm-hmm. And I said I was honored to do that. And we had not done okay, guys. We had knocked the cover off the ball at TD Ameritrade. Mm-hmm. So my last few years there, our return to our shareholders was 500%. That outperformed every financial firm in the world. And if you recall, 2008 was the financial crisis. Right. We got through that financial crisis totally unscathed. When I got there, we had a market cap of about $700 million. That's the value of the company. Today, that market cap is about $30 billion. When I got there, we had about $24 billion in client assets. Today, we have $1.3 trillion. So when I stepped down in 2008, it was kind of like you'd won 2 national championships in a row. But it was like Wake Forest winning those national championships, not Alabama.
Right.
It's not a knock on Wake Forest, but it's a very valid analogy. So if the guy at Wake Forest had won 2 national championships in a row, what kind of job do you think they'd have offered to him?
Right.
Great.
Good one.
So that's the position I was in. So I had never been in more demand in my life. And then I get in the business world. And then I get a call from a group and media. And then I got a call from a group of alumni at Yale telling me at the end of the 2008 season there was a chance the football job would be open. Would I be interested? And I remember guys literally looking at the telephone and saying, guys, you understand, I've not coached for over 20 years. They said, we know that. But we spent a lot of time looking at the skill sets that college coach is supposed to have. Mm-hmm. And we've done our homework on this, and we really believe you not only have the skill set, you actually have competitive advantage others not going to have.
Wow. There's
only one issue. I said, what's that? And at the time, in 110 years of college football, no one has ever done this. So it's going to take a rare academic leader that's going to pull the trigger on that. But please think about it. And I did. I thought about it the next several months. And at the end of the day, when I could have done probably anything else I wanted in my life, I chose to go back. Now, why did I make that? Number one, I'm not a great football fan. Like, I don't know who's playing quarterback where. I don't really care. I look at film all the time. When I go home, I'd rather watch a movie, listen to music, or watch one of the series on Netflix, read a book, what have you. But I know what my guys are doing. I know what the opponent's guys are doing. But I'm not a great fan. But I love the strategy behind the game. So it's like master's chess where 22 people are moving at once with a lot at stake, under a lot of stress, and it really matters, number one. Number two, pulling together an organization. Frankly, I can do that really, really, really well. And three, at the end of the day, and that's why BAM and LAF matter so much to me, is about the impact you have on others. So it is truly about being able to take a boy and help him become a man. That's not what BAM means per se, but the BAM principles behind that. And at that point in my life, and at this point in my life, frankly, I didn't think there was anything else I could do where I would have gotten felt that where I could have had a greater impact or feel most satisfied with myself and who I am. So that's why I went back to football.
Oh, wow, Coach. That's a great story. And like I said, I did catch your wrath when you were a head coach and I was a position coach at FAMU. So I definitely admire everything you've done and really how you kind of turned Coastal around at the time. Now, at the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame, we're talking about making a difference through football. And we really appreciate everything you've done for us. You've done some great things for us. And I want to know, what makes you want to support an organization like ours?
Well, I think for the reason why we're talking about this afternoon on the phone, guys, I think the South Carolina Hall of Fame has a tremendous history and tradition, and the focus is the ability to be able to help our guys with what happens when football is over. How do you? It's not just football for the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. As you said in the beginning, this is beyond the game of football. It's for the kids. It's the impact you're going to have on their lives. Now, that number one, that touches my heart, and I think that, and I think when you think about missions, for example, a mission statement, something along those lines really, really makes a difference in the world. And that's the reason why I have tremendous respect for you and all you do and the Hall of Fame.
Well, wow, Coach, thank you very much. If I was a crier, I'll be shedding a tear right now. But, I mean, you're tremendously amazing. Like I said before, I have read your books. I read the wrong book, but I did read your book and really admire you for all you've done, especially for the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame, and especially for your guys at Coastal. They're going to be better men. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Levon. I appreciate that.
All right.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, thank you so much, Coach.
All right, guys, I appreciate you having me on. Thank you, guys.
Go
Wow.
Chance.
Wow.
All right.
Go Shot.
There you go.
I tell you, what a
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye, guys.
thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach.
You're listening to Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland.
Unbelievable. Coach Joe Moglia, what a gentleman, a Renaissance man. He's got me hungry talking about going out to eat and the Big Apple.
Right,
The food up there is always fantastic.
Always good.
Woo! So that was a great interview. So listen, Levon, we're here at the Wyatt Law Studios, and every week we try to go to you. We lead ourselves. We're all about leadership at the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. We lead ourselves, we lead others. This is the inside look where your experience, you've been a leader in a number of different venues and successful. So I'm coming to you. Please share with us and our audience the inside look.
Okay, no problem with that. A lot of times we talk about why we want our young people to play sports. And one of the reasons why we want that to happen, because life happens. Some of us, a lot of us, we're going to have setbacks, but defeat is a choice. So in life, we're going to have setbacks, but defeat is a choice. And what I mean by that, in life, you're going to lose your job. In life, you may face a health crisis. But it's up to you to choose how you deal with that. We've all have dealt with that. I have dealt with it very personally. But playing sports helps you to understand how to defeat those setbacks.
How do you do that?
Well, I think like I said before, it's a choice. And that's why I like sports, and I especially like football, because of how tough it is and how you get knocked down and how you have to make that choice. Do I go back out there or do I run away? And I think usually doing football or doing any kind of sport, you're going to get back up and you're going to make a decision to make it a little better. So that's why I like about this sport, and I love what we're doing, because it's teaching kids about how to handle real life problems, how to handle setbacks. But I'm gonna let you know, it's your choice that really makes you a winner.
Well, that's fantastic. That's great insight. The inside look, making a choice. You get knocked down, you get adversity, life throws some sort of hammer tong at you. And you can either sit there and you can waller in it and you can think about how unfortunate it is and you're a victim and there's nothing you can do about it. Mm-hmm. But you're saying defeat is a choice. Yeah. So you could choose to have that attitude, or you can choose to have a different attitude, and that is, hey, I'm going to think positively. Yeah. What's done is done. I am where I am. Let's get back in this game called life, move forward. And, hey, all we can do is the best you can do.
Best you can possibly do.
And being somebody who I know does the best you can do, one thing that I've seen, and I've seen it in you, is sometimes your best is different.
Right. Yes. No question about it. I mean, sometimes, when you're going through this life, I mean, it's going to be a little different. You may think one way, I may think another way, but I think, like we said before, it's really the choices you make.
Yeah.
And if you choose to, be defeated, you will be defeated.
And, be easy on yourself because if you beat, a lot of times I think we're the hardest on ourselves.
No question about
and when you
it.
recognize that, hey, this is the best I had. Maybe not the best I could do yesterday or maybe tomorrow I can do better, but this is the best I can do today, and I've just got to be happy with that and move on forward. So that's great insight.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you.
No problem.
Mike Foster, let's talk about football. We're in football season. South Carolina has some great teams and some great players. Take it away, my friend.
Well, we had a big weekend here in South Carolina. The Citadel takes out Georgia Tech with the triple option. Go figure. 27-24. Great game there.
Congratulations, Citadel.
Furman almost took out Va Tech.
They did.
They were real close.
And they look great. I'm telling you, Furman, if you look at their record, they're 1-2. But this team is going to be a force in the SoCon the rest of the season. Watch out for Furman because they have a great group,
great players, great coaches.
I would not be surprised if they go home, take the SoCon at the end of the year.
Some would argue a couple calls go differently, then they'd be 3-0.
No question. Yeah.
Absolutely. They've been that good. Of course, Clemson takes their 18th straight with at 41-6 at Syracuse this weekend, and let me tell you what, we have a thing called the Blanchard Rogers Trophy, which is the Player of the Year, Collegiate Player of the Year. We call it the SC Heisman.
Yep.
And there's probably one guy on Clemson right now that may be one of the best players in the country every single time he goes on the field, and that's Isaiah Simmons.
Oh, no question about it.
He is lighting it up.
Yes.
And he's playing great.
Well, yeah, and you got to love what Brent Venables is doing with him. He's kind of using him in different spots, which if you're a player, you love that. And the guy is so big. He's so explosive. Absolutely. He can run anybody down, and he is playing lights out. To be honest with you, he's probably MVP of that team. He's probably the best player of the number one team in the country.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Our friends at Coastal Carolina got their second straight win of the season.
Congratulations.
They impressed again over Nicholls State 46-7. Their running back C.J. Marable got his second straight 100-yard game of the season, so he's off to a good start this season.
Yeah.
Balling at the beach.
There you go. And really, I don't know how many of you guys saw, but of the South Carolina-Alabama game, South Carolina didn't quite get there, but the freshman quarterback is looking really good. I think he has a bright future. Ryan Helinski has a very bright future. Keep an eye on Ryan as we go forward this year, but in upcoming years as well. But he's a great freshman quarterback right now. And what they did in the third quarter, I don't know if you saw, remembering his brother who passed away about a year or so ago. He was a former Washington State quarterback, and he took his life. And to see the picture of the stands, 80,000 people holding up the number 3, which is what Ryan wears as well, number 3. So to see that, making a difference through football is what we say, but to make that. And
they had Alabama fans.
Yeah, Alabama fans, South Carolina fans came together as one group to support.
To encourage mental health. So if you're struggling with a mental health problem,
absolutely,
don't take your own life. Yeah. Hey, there's a lot of love out there, and just make the phone call.
I mean, that's the definition of making a difference through football to me, bringing people together for one common cause.
Fantastic. Good point.
And then my player of the week this week was sophomore running back John Maine Martin. I hope I said that right. Of Conway, South Carolina. He plays for NC-A&T. 25 carries, 299 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns against Charleston Southern. Sorry, it was a little bit in-state beat down there, but
yeah, it happens.
299 yards on 25 carries is balling.
That is balling.
That is a lot of yards, no matter what type of football, what level football you play.
Absolutely. Well, Levon, what stood out to you this weekend?
Oh, well, I love what the South Carolina teams did. Citadel beating Georgia Tech. I mean, that was kind of amazing. What Furman did, of course. And my man, Isaiah Simmons, man, is a baller. And being a former linebacker, I like that kind of specimen. 6'4", about 230, can run like the wind. So I thought that, honestly, he was probably the player of the week for me.
Gotcha.
But he's been the player of for the last 3 games, he's definitely been the most impressive player that I've seen.
I agree with that. One thing to remind everybody out there, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at SCFootballHOF. You can get all of our information there. Go to scfootballhof.org to keep up to date on what we're doing. And also become a member and vote. Right now, our class of 2020 is out on the website. We want to get your vote for this class of 2020. Voting goes until December 9th. And so please do that. We want to hear your voice. We want your voice to be heard. And so go ahead and do that.
Well, you know what? There's that flag. Coach Jeffrey's kind enough to put a flag out here, and our producer, who we appreciate, Evan Tripp. Thank you for keeping us on track. Thank you for all the great work that you do. But this signifies that our time is up. Thank you again. We do love you, Coach Willie Jeffries, and we love you, the listener. Thank you for being a part of this growing success. It's been great. It's been an honor to be in here.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. Y'all catch us again next week. We're the Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland.
You're listening to Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland.